racing thoughts, fear of the future, scenes from the past that won't let go, and a strange feeling that something bad is going to happen at any moment. Have you ever felt this? You pray, ask for peace, play a hymn on your headphones, and try to move on. But nothing changes. The truth is, no one taught you how to truly clear your mind. No one explained to you that some things just can't be resolved with distraction, that for the mind to rest, the heart needs to trust. In this video, you'll understand what's holding your mind back and how Jesus wants to clear it all today, not tomorrow, right now. It's the kind of message that comes as a relief, because you'll finally stop struggling alone. Follow the channel so this message reaches more people who need to be freed from this cycle of fear and anxiety. Clara, she woke up once again with that noise in her head. It wasn't even an outside sound. It was inside. Thoughts, demands, bad memories, as if her mind had been invaded. She woke up feeling uneasy. She didn't even know who she was anymore. She just did what she had to. Take care of the house, work, smile a little so as not to worry anyone. But inside, a mess. The problem was, she didn't even know it was dirty. It was so normal to live full of worries, replays of old arguments, fear of what hadn't even happened, that it seemed part of the routine. But it was slowly consuming her. It wasn't just exhaustion. It was as if her soul was overloaded with invisible garbage, and this garbage kept piling up because she'd never learned to clean. They never taught her that the mind needs to be cleaned too, that some thoughts are like construction dust. If you don't remove them every day, they become crusts. And Jesus? He was just another distant name, until everything started to crumble inside, and she realized she couldn't go on like this anymore. She woke up tired, as if she hadn't slept at all. Her mind felt like a broken radio. Constant noise, random thoughts, guilt, worry about her mother, bills, fear of losing her job, all at once. She put on a coffee and stood there, staring at the cup. It was only Monday, and she already wanted the week to end. She tried to say a quick prayer, but I couldn't even begin. My mind raced. As I spoke to God, I remembered the email I'd forgotten to reply to. Then I wondered if I'd closed the living room window. It was like trying to talk to someone at a crowded concert filled with screams inside. Deep down, Clara just wanted silence, but she didn't know how to silence it all. It was then that she remembered a verse she heard as a child. "Be still, and know that I am God." She spoke the sentence quietly. For the first time in days, she was silent, and in that silence, she felt something different, as if Jesus had entered the room just because she stopped, just because she gave him space. Clara grabbed her phone to check her notifications. 40 messages. 2 work groups discussing urgent matters, reels, stories, promotions, bank alerts. It was as if the world was screaming at her constantly, and she just wanted to hear God, but she couldn't. Her head was too full, too heavy. It was like trying to fill a cup that was already overflowing. She realized that to hear God, praying wasn't enough. She needed to make space. She needed to clear. And right there, without planning, she began. She silenced notifications, closed social media, turned off the TV. Then she took a deep breath. That was it. And it may seem small, but in that moment, her mind took a breath. A small but real miracle. She thought, that's it. I need to empty myself so he can fill me. It was at that moment that she realized a dirty, crowded, agitated mind isn't just an emotional problem. It's a spiritual prison, and Jesus wants to free us from this. But to do so, we need to stop. Make space. Surrender our thoughts. Because God doesn't invade. He enters where there's space. Over the next few days, Clara began paying attention to everything she consumed. She noticed how certain songs made her more anxious, how some YouTube videos made her compare herself and doubt herself, And she also noticed how certain conversations, seemingly harmless, felt heavy later. It was as if small amounts of dirt were accumulating until they covered everything inside. That's when she made a radical choice. Instead of starting her day with Instagram, she began with Psalm 46, "Be still and know that I am God." That phrase became her refuge. In moments of noise, she returned to that verse. It was as if that word were a wet cloth cleaning the mirror of her mind. And the more she cleaned, the more clearly she saw. Because it's like this: our mind is like a window, and if it's dirty, we can't see the light. What you let in will determine how you think, feel, and even how you pray. That's why Jesus doesn't just want to save you. He wants to cleanse the place where it all begins, your mind. One day, Clara was in her room, organizing her desk drawer, when she found an old note. It was a reminder she'd written herself during an anxiety attack. "I'm a burden. No one understands me." She sat on the floor, holding the paper, and began to cry. Not only from the pain of that day, but also from realizing that thoughts still lived within her, hidden. It was there that she understood what Jesus meant when he spoke about the truth setting you free. Cleansing your mind begins when you confront what's most hidden, dirty, and silent. Those thoughts you never say out loud but that continue to shape your feelings. Clara realized she needed to surrender this, not ignore it, not gloss over it. Surrender. So she prayed sincerely. She said, "Jesus, I want you to cleanse even these dark corners. I don't want to keep lies inside my head anymore." And do you know what happened? Peace. It wasn't magic, but it was real. A different silence filled the room. A clean silence, like someone opening the windows after a long time. After that day, Clara tried to move on with her life, but every time her mind started to fill up again, her first reaction was to run for distraction. She'd open her phone, put on a video on YouTube, or scroll through social media without even knowing what she was looking for. She thought it helped, but in reality, it just pushed the clutter further away. Jesus began to show her that a clear mind doesn't come with distraction, but with direction. While she tried to run from her feelings, he wanted her to face them. Instead of seeking more noise, she learned to seek silence. Silence that heals. Silence that allows her to hear God saying, "This thought isn't yours. I'll give you a new one." Clara began to develop the habit of stopping midday and asking herself, "What am I thinking right now?" And this question became a spiritual weapon. Because often, just by noticing what was going through her head, she was able to break the cycle before it was swallowed up. She was no longer a hostage, she was in control, and Jesus was the filter. Clara learned to observe her thoughts, but there were still days when everything came rushing back. Dark thoughts, out of nowhere. Old guilt, scenes she didn't even know still hurt. At those times, fear screamed so loudly it seemed impossible to hear God. And do you know what she did? Nothing. She just stayed quiet, trying to cope. But it was in that silence that she understood. What she kept silent on the outside was turning into a storm on the inside. She needed to speak, to open her mouth, even if it was just to say, "God, I don't know what's happening, but I'm here." And that was exactly what changed everything. Instead of hiding, she began to confess. Not with shame, but with faith. Because when we give up what's heavy, Jesus carries it. And sometimes Clara wrote. Other times she cried aloud, but she always let it out. And each time she spoke, the fear lost ground. Her mind, little by little, stopped being a battlefield and began to be a garden, because words have power. And when you use your voice to make room for God, the devil loses ground. Clara began to notice a pattern. On the days she felt most anxious, her mind seemed to search for anything to distract itself. Social media, TV shows, meaningless videos. It was as if her head was saying, "Anything but silence." But the more she distracted herself, the dirtier her mind became. Not with physical filth, but with noise, confusion, repetitive thoughts. Nothing cleared it. It only got worse. One day, she understood. Distraction isn't relief, it's escape. The mind isn't cleared with more noise, but with presence. And it was then that she decided otherwise. On days when her mind was racing, instead of seeking distraction, she would seek direction. She would close her eyes, take a deep breath and say, "Lord, clear my mind now." And even when peace didn't come immediately, she remained there, steadfast, without escaping, and it wasn't easy. Her fingers itched to reach for her phone. Her body wanted to escape the discomfort, but she stayed. And in that place of permanence, God began to work. Little by little, what was noise became clarity. What was agitation became calm. Because a clear mind isn't found, it's built. And it all begins when you stop running from what needs healing. Clara understood that, to keep her mind clear, praying wasn't enough when everything was chaotic. She needed a plan. Something practical. Something she could repeat every day. That's when she created a simple ritual, almost like brushing the teeth of her soul. Every time anxiety arose, she did 5 things, always in the same order, even when she didn't feel like it. First, she would stop what she was doing and go to a quiet place. Second, she would turn off her cell phone or put it on airplane mode. Third, she would open her Bible to a verse she had already highlighted. Her favorite was Isaiah 26:3. "You will keep him in perfect peace, whose mind is stayed on you." Fourth, she would close her eyes and say softly, "Lord, clear my mind now. Take away the excess. Give me only what I need." Fifth, she would sit and breathe for 3 minutes. That was it. At first, it seemed like little, but within a few days her mind began to change. Less impulsive, less reactive. It was as if she had swept away the emotional filth that had been accumulating for years. And the most beautiful thing, this step-by-step process became a weapon. When fear struck, she no longer ran to distraction. She ran to her refuge. And this became a habit. Habit became strength. And strength became liberation. That Sunday morning, Clara woke up feeling different. There was no noise in her mind, no pressure, no racing thoughts, no fear disguised as planning. For the first time in years, she sat at the breakfast table without needing to put on music, a podcast, or open Instagram to distract herself. She just sat there, present, at peace. That was it. That was what she'd been searching for all along. She understood that clearing her mind didn't mean erasing everything. It meant leaving only what needed to be there. It meant silencing the excess to hear God's voice. Clara stopped chasing distractions because she understood that running away only leaves the mess for later. The peace she wanted wasn't in the background of a relaxing playlist, nor in motivational messages. It was in the silence. It was in surrender. Clara didn't become a saint. She still had bad days. But now she knew what to do. She knew where to clean. She knew who to call. And that changed everything. It wasn't about controlling her mind, it was about trusting. And the most beautiful thing? When she looked in the mirror that day, she realized that the anxious woman who lived there didn't live there anymore. There's no point in asking for peace if you're not willing to let go of what's cluttering your mind. Jesus has already reached out, but you need to surrender what's weighing you down. Toxic thoughts, repetitive fears, guilt that's no longer yours, all of it needs to go, and it starts with a simple choice. Stop running and start trusting. Now, tell me, how many days of your life have you wasted with an agitated mind? How many opportunities have you let pass you by because you were afraid of making a mistake? How many times have you hidden from God, thinking He had moved away, when in fact it was you who hid? Jesus wants to cleanse everything, but it only happens when you open the door, activate the bell, follow the channel, and stay with us. This is just the beginning of the liberation God wants to bring about in your life.